Working the land definitely gives you more appreciation for like how fickle Mother Nature is. I mean, it's a hard job and like long hours, really weird hours, being up at like 4 in the morning when no one else is awake, but it's kind of interesting. And you get to watch the sunrise, which is sweet. Not many people get to watch the sunrise like a couple days a week, so. Yeah, it's just nice to be like using your body as part of your work, like getting up and exercising and walking around. Like you watch me work just now, I don't stop moving the entire time. Like I don't sit down, I'm not sitting at the desk on the computer. So I definitely enjoy that. A long time ago, I kind of like decided that I would rather just lead by example. Like I would rather start a farm that grows local food and provides food for my community. I don't want to go to Washington and be like, label GMOs, do this, do that. Like, that's not what I like doing. And I have high hopes for it. I hope it changes. But we have to show that it works first, because people are always going to return to that, like, how do we feed 9 billion people? Like, without the use of chemical fertilizers, GMO crops, all those things. And most people don't believe that there is a way to do it. I think that there is a way to do it, and I think that we could much more effectively use the land we have in this country. I mean, we're like one of the great agricultural powers in the world. Like, this country was founded on agriculture. And I think we really need to step back and take a look at it and be like, are we setting ourselves up for success in the future? And I don't think we are right now, the way we're doing things, but I hope that we change it fast enough. I don't have a ton of faith, but it's our job to fix it. I mean, that's just like how it works. Like, we now have to take responsibility for what they did and their parents did, and they totally messed everything up. I think the food system in this country is gonna collapse.
The level of energy that goes into moving food around, it's not sustainable.
We've become accustomed to every ingredient all year round at your fingertips and at a really affordable price. We live in a place where naturally that doesn't happen.
And I hope that people in our generation are like starting to realize that. I mean, the average age of farmers is like 60 something now in this country. If no one takes it over, like, we're not gonna grow any of our own food. And I think that's how civilizations fall.
I struggle with people who want like strawberries in January and are upset that they're $8 for a box. But you know, those strawberries are coming from halfway around the world, and the cost that goes into getting them here is gigantic.
If you were to look at the amount of energy that we spend per year in the US on farming, it's enormous. If you look at the price of energy, you look at the price of food, the curves go like this. And they're lockstep and barrel, and that's because if you look at the energy we put in, it's a huge amount of the cost of farming production. The way we currently grow our food is that we boost plant caloric output essentially through oil. So if you want a plant to have more calories, or if you want more calories out of an acre of land, you have to put energy in. And the way we put energy into plants is through nitrogen fertilizer, phosphorus, irrigation, farming, or tractors, and with the lion's share of that actually coming from nitrogen. So we spend enough energy and oil to feed 770 billion people. Right? We only have 320 million in the US, right? So we're clearly way beyond efficiency in the wrong direction. We're putting in more energy, enough energy to feed 770 billion, but the amount of food that we're getting out is only to feed 320 million, right? And plus we export some, but even if you count, let's say we fed the entire planet, we'd still be putting too much energy in for what we get as we hit peak oil and the oil starts to decline, that's number is going to push up the price of food and ultimately decrease food production.
I imagine, you know, the next, who knows, 20, 25, 50 years that our food system is going to be a lot more localized by necessity. You know, right now we can get away with it, but people are going to need to have local food producers. There's going to need to be the community farm.
And I don't think it makes sense to grow corn. Like, the whole middle part of our country is devoted to growing something that humans can't even eat. It's totally nuts. But I think that I hope that young people like myself are kind of seeing that while you're not going to get rich farming, it can provide kind of a rewarding livelihood, and it's important. It's really important. Vermont is like a hot spot for young farmers. I just wish that it was happening more in the Midwest, where we really need it. It's like, at least we've always had small farms in Vermont, and kind of have always been ahead of the curve when it comes to agriculture, but other parts of the country definitely need to have some more young people step in.
I think a lot of people are wanting an alternative lifestyle to working indoors. I think a lot of people are coming to this program, coming to farming because they want a career that they can, work on the land and produce something. Working in the food system, working in production, producing food, being a chef or a culinary expert or a food fermenter or a farmer. I mean, all those cheesemaker, all those professions, they're kind of cool right now. I think that working in food is very trendy, and I don't think it's passing. I don't think it's, to say that, I don't mean that it's a superficial thing. I think that people are really thirsting for meaningful work, and I think that there's nothing more meaningful than producing the food that we are eating. And I wanted to become a farmer, 15 years ago. And now I think you can tell your parents, I would imagine a lot of people, young people can say, hey, I want to be a farmer, and there's actually context for it. I think 15 years ago in LA, I wanted to be a farmer, and I think they had no idea what I was talking about. Because I think the stereotypes have shifted. I don't think that, necessarily a farmer means that you are chewing on straw and you're wearing, overalls and you're, a 60-year-old white man. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. I think that, those farmers do exist, but I think that there's a younger generation of farmers that are kind of shaking up the stereotypes. So now I think some of our students probably aren't facing the same sort of, strange looks that I got 15 years ago. I think that it's a movement. It's a viable career option now. At least here in Vermont, I think, and I think it growing in other places in the country, it is becoming that. Every year, the students are inspiring to me because they come in just so in love with farming, and what I offer to them is more of the practical skills and the reason behind why we do what we do. I grew up in suburban Los Angeles, like by the ocean. There's no farms. I think because I grew up, basically in suburbia, I knew I wanted to get out of suburbia. So I think because I grew up in a totally different environment than a farm, I felt like very, very attracted to it as a reaction to what I didn't want, which was to live in Los Angeles. Real satisfaction from the work I'm doing has become why I'm doing it. But initially, I just wanted to breathe fresh air, and I didn't want to be sitting in a chair in front of a computer.
Having a world that exists outside of a computer screen in terms of your work is good. Having work that is place-based, that is thing-based. There's kind of this narrative that our culture is too materialistic, but on a certain level we're not materialistic enough, because we think almost everything can be replaced by the knowledge economy. But this huge part of the world still exists in removing this rock from the ground, transporting it here, planting this seed here, harvesting the product, moving it there, building houses, building roads. There's so much that is still physical, and a lot of people have no real experience with the world of goods from the production end, only from the consumer end.